right, I believe we are live. And let me put recording on. All right. Well, welcome to today because this is a wonderful celebration for you, David. Oh, look, hold that's just right. Got to hold your book up in the background there. Jaded Health. What a celebration. I have watched all the things that you've done, David, and it's just so incredible to see to really celebrate you and what you're doing in our world to really show up in such an amazing way. So let's talk about Jaded Health. What is the purpose of Jaded Health? Everyday health choices, and you talk about 9 simple golden rules for living a healthy life. So let's first talk about what got you started on this journey.
Well, my health journey started in July of 2016 when my doctor told me, based on my age and my weight, I was 61, and that I was fat in my lab results, that I had a 95% chance for a fatal heart attack. So he gave me two options. He said, lose weight or find a new doctor. And he strongly encouraged me to find a new doctor because he had been after me for 8 years to lose weight. And if I did lose weight on a diet, I gained it all back, sometimes even more. So I was frustrated and I was embarrassed. This time was different. The light bulb went off. And during the next 4 months, I shed 50 pounds, which was 25% of my total body weight. More importantly, I've kept it off over the past 8 years. And then in June of 2022, at age 67, I hiked up Mount Kilimanjaro. Now, my journey started actually in my 20s and
Uh,
30s because when I was in my 20s and 30s, I was healthy and fit and trim. Like most people, life gets in the way with work responsibilities and family obligations. And before I knew it, I stopped exercising and I started eating more fast foods and convenient foods, and the weight crept up on me. So I want people to understand that they can live a healthy life with 9 simple golden rules. And when people hear the 9 simple golden rules, they're like, I know that. I understand you know it. The question is, are you doing it? And most people say no. And then the question becomes, why aren't you doing what you know what you need to do to stay healthy? And that's where the book comes in, because I've added short stories and parables and life lessons and applied it to eating healthy and living a healthy lifestyle. It's not a diet book, it's not a weight loss book, because when you eat for your health, the weight takes care of itself.
it does take care of itself, and it's interesting because it's just so much of what you talk about in your book are just I've never believed in a diet, because I've watched people do incredible, incredible things with diet. They'll lose a lot of weight and then bam, it's back on and it's even more. And I've watched people go through those horrible surgeries and they get so much of their stomach cut out and all this other stuff and then it's right back. It's right back after all that anguish that they went through.
Yeah, the average person will attempt 4 to 5 new diets each year.
Hmm.
And during a lifetime, they'll attempt 126 different diets. So, what that tells you is diets don't work. Diets are temporary, they're extreme, hard to stick with. And a lot of them, as you mentioned, are potentially dangerous to your health. Again, it comes down to lifestyle. And that's where I
Yes.
advocate it. The other thing is national brands will promote and advertise lose 20, 30 pounds your first month guaranteed. Yeah, you'll lose the weight. The problem is it's not sustainable, it's not healthy, and most likely you're not going to keep the weight off, which is why they have repeat customers. Because if their diet methods work, after a couple of years, we'd be all fit and trim and thinner, and they'd be out of business.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, you have a quote here, and I understand that because it's just such a it's a vicious cycle that is so not healthy for the body. And it seems like every time they go on one of those diets, not only do they gain more weight, but they lose more health. You know,
Exactly.
yeah. So you have a quote in here, David, that I have always appreciated, and you've wrote a series of books on, like um, what was the one when we first started working together, and all of them have related, put the fork down. I think, can't remember the name of the book, but all of these
Oh,
books
my
have,
first book was
yeah,
Discover Your Thinner Self.
discover your center self. And
And the
then,
second book was If Not Now, When.
right, right.
The third book was Break the Chains of Dieting, which won 9 awards,
It's amazing.
bestseller. And then fourth book was Stop Dieting, Start Thinning.
Right.
And Jaded Health is the fifth book. It's a culmination of the first five. And I also created a little booklet called The Moral of the Story Is. So I took some of the stories and added more to the Jaded Health. People relate better to stories. And so
Yes.
one or two may resonate with someone to say, oh, wow, that makes sense. I need to do something. And one of my favorite stories is the pot roast story, which a lot of people have heard. And very quickly, the pot roast story is where a host is having a dinner party and she made a pot roast. And one of the guests says, I love the pot roast. Can I get your recipe? And the host says, of course. And she writes it down for her. And the guest reads it and says to the host, why do you cut the ends of the pot roast off? And the host says, I don't know. That's how my mom taught me. So the next day, the host calls her mom and says, hey, mom, why do we cut the ends of the pot roast off before we cook it? And her mom says, I don't know. It's how your grandmother taught me. Call your grandmother. So the host calls her grandmother and says, hey, grandma, why do we cut the ends of the pot roast off before we cook it? Your grandma thinks for a while and she says, oh, because when I was first married, the pan I had was too small, so I had to cut the ends off the pot roast to make it fit. So the lesson of that is we eat a certain way or at a certain time or certain things because that's how we were taught by our parents. My friend John Canada calls it dietary duplication. And so we start questioning, well, why am I eating this? Why am I eating at a certain time or a certain way? It may be because your parents taught you that way. Maybe a friend or a colleague does it that way. You wanted to imitate them. So you have to start thinking about not only what you're eating, why you're eating, where you're eating, and when you're eating. And there's a lot of misinformation out there because we're all different, not one size fits all.
Right.
So some health experts will advocate you need to eat 3 meals a day, and breakfast is the most important meal of the day. In my opinion, breakfast is not important and should avoid it if possible. And actually, that myth was created by the cereal companies who wanted to sell more of their products. So some people do better with 3 meals, some do better with small meals throughout the day, and some people do better, like Dr. Robert Lufkin, who wrote the foreword to the book, 1 meal a day. So you have
Right.
to figure out what's best for you and what's best for your body. Again, we're all different.
We are all different, and and that is the really key to the thing, and it's being in tune to our own bodies and understanding what our bodies need. If I was going to eat 6 meals a day, which my body I could not, usually it's two. But the thing is that and certain foods we do better with than other people. Some people really, I had years ago when I was still raising my children. Um, I tried to do vegetarian. Oh my goodness. You could have mopped me up off the floor. I could not do vegetarian. I needed the meats, and especially as hard as I was working, and I was a single mom raising kids, and it was um, that was not in the cards for me. That just didn't work. I could remember that first piece of steak I ate after trying it for a couple months, and it was like I could feel the blood coming back in my body, so but you have a really cool quote. It's love yourself enough to live a healthy life because time and health are two precious assets we don't appreciate until they're gone. And which is so very true. And really, when you think about all of the misinformation, I think if we really, really think about the misinformation that's out there as far as the good kind of foods, first, you know, this is wrong, and then that, and then all of a sudden it's right, and then back and forth. Eggs are wrong, and eggs are good, and back and forth. And so you have all of this in there, but I think our bodies tell us what's right too.
Exactly. And some eggs are good and some eggs are bad.
True.
Again, it's not the food we're eating, it's what they've done to the food we're
That's
eating.
right.
So I eat pasture eggs. I avoid cage-free and range-free eggs, even if they're organic, because when you see photos of what a cage-free and range-free egg is, it doesn't mean the hens are outside. It
No,
just
that's
means
right.
they have the opportunity to be outside. And they're in these big barns, and maybe a few can get out the door, but the rest of them are stuck in there. And so again, it's what they're doing and what they're feeding the hens. A lot of times on the carton, if you read labels like I do, and you read the carton, it'll say grain fed or special feed. Well, most of the time that grain fed is corn or soy. Well, if the hens are eating the corn and soy, it's going into the egg, and that's what you're putting in your body. And so pasture eggs is where the hen is actually outside foraging for their own food, eating the grass, the bugs, whatever they can find. And that's the difference.
Mhm.
And I'd rather pay a little bit extra, for a high quality carton of eggs than get
Oh,
the cheaper eggs.
right. And the
And the
same is
reason I
true
say
for
that
our
is,
meats.
yeah, and the
Yeah.
reason I say that is people have no qualms paying $5, $6, $7 for a breakfast sandwich at McDonald's, Burger King, Denny's, Carl's Jr., the fast food places. But you tell them they can get a dozen eggs for $7, $8, and all of a sudden they're upset. It's like less than 50 cents an egg. I don't understand it,
Right. Right.
So that's where I do my best to inform people and educate them. Say, look, take a different look at how you're approaching food. Um, in my opinion, the imitation meats, the Impossible Burgers, the Beyond Meat, they're all
They're
toxic.
always, yeah.
They're
Yeah.
full of chemicals. You're better off eating the real stuff than, the fake stuff. In the 1990s, the average grocery store had about 30 to 35,000 items on their shelves. Today, it's over 50 to 60,000 items. Now, I don't know about you, Becky. I haven't heard that many new fruits, vegetables, nuts, or berries being discovered in that time period. And what it is, it's all the different highly processed or ultra processed or just manufactured foods like Pop Tarts,
Hmm.
the sodas, the Cheetos, the Doritos, the
The
Oreo,
things that are so not
loaded with
good for
candy
us.
cocaine. Yeah, that they're putting out there. They're making new varieties. When they say, bet you can't eat just one for the potato chips, it's not a dare, it's a fact. And like I said, they have scientifically engineered our food to be more addicting so that they've created a craving for the fat, the salt, the sugar, the texture. So when they say you're a food junkie and it's junk food, that's what they're doing. They're turning people into junkies for
Right.
food. Again, Oreo cookies are more addicting than cocaine. So,
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that, but and it's so true. Even the meats that we eat, we have to be so careful because if you ever driven up the Highway 5 all the way through California and those feedlots that you see, and it's just ugh, what is those poor animals and how they exist, and yeah, they grow fast, they get a lot of food, but
yeah,
what's their environment and how can that be translate to good health for us?
exactly. And again, like I said before, it's not the food we're eating, it's what they've done to the food. It all started in the late 1970s, early 1980s. A lot of people may not know this, and this is not in the book, that the food companies were bought out by the tobacco companies. And they used the process for selling cigarettes and making those addicting into the food. I mean, look at how many different brands or boxes of cereal that are all full of sugar and chemicals. directed toward kids.
Excuse me, I gotta mute somebody. Yeah. Sorry about that. It is just truly amazing. And in the book you talk about the 9 needs of the body.
Yes.
The 9 needs of the body, and there's air, water, sleep, food, physical movement, sunlight, non-energy nutrients, physical touch and community, and proper elimination of toxins. So as we review each of these, water doesn't mean that it's some kind of like fruit juice or flavored beverage or anything like that. Water means good water.
Well, it means pure water. And
Yes.
pure water can
Yep.
be one of three waters, in my opinion. And this is based on the research I've done. And the reason I say that is if you ask one health expert, they'll tell you, such as Paul Bragg and Patricia Bragg, they'll tell you that distilled water is the best water to drink. If you ask Jack LaLanne, who was a pupil of Paul Bragg, he'll tell you spring water, high quality spring water is the best water for you. If you ask my mentor, Dr. David Friedman, he'll tell you 6-stage filtering system, reverse osmosis is the best water to drink. So you have three different experts telling you three different things. So who or what do you trust and believe? What I tell people is choose what is best for you. If you like distilled water, drink it. If you like the high quality spring water, not the DeSantis or the Aquafina, that's just purified tap water by Coca-Cola and Pepsi-Cola. Drink it, and I use a 6-stage reverse osmosis water filtering. So again, a lot of confusion out there because, as I said, you ask one health expert one thing, he'll tell you his opinion. You ask a second, he'll tell you the first one is wrong. If you ask a third, he'll tell you the first two are both wrong.
Right. And there's so much controversy that way, but I do know that dehydration among our population is a huge problem because people they don't drink enough water, and that also really affects the health. It causes a lot of health issues to not be drinking enough water.
Exactly. 75% of the US population is chronically dehydrated.
Right.
Our bodies are, and this is golden rule number one, is to drink more adequate, more water. When I say, we talked about what waters are acceptable. It's pure water. And people say, well, how much should I drink? Again, at a minimum, 64 ounces. Most will say 1/2 of your total body weight. So if you weigh 200 pounds, drink 100 ounces of water. Our bodies are 60 to 70% water, not soda, not diet soda, not fruit juices, not fruit flavored juices or beverages, not milk. It's water. So
Right.
why wouldn't you want to give your body what it's composed of if it's 60 to 70% water? And the other thing is, there's a direct correlation with 73% of the US population being overweight, of which 42% are clinically obese, is that a lot of times when we think we're hungry, we're actually thirsty.
Right.
So
Right.
water is a natural appetite suppressant. So if you're drinking an adequate amount of water, you're not as hungry. And I look at the commercials for Ozempic and Wegovy and I laugh thinking, people are spending $1,000 to $1,500 a month. And now I guess there's some other similar types of that product for 150, 200, whatever a month. But you have to be on it for life. And if you go off it, the weight comes right back. Not only that, they're finding out there's permanent negative side effects.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
And so why would you want to put that stuff in your body when you can eat healthy, reduce the weight, keep it off, and have a healthy lifestyle? And
absolutely. Yeah.
most people didn't put the weight on overnight like I did. You're not going to take it off overnight. So I usually ask people, would you like to weigh 24 to 48 pounds lighter by this time next year? Most people say, yeah. Well, can you lose 2, 3, 4 pounds per month on average? Because some months, if you do it for 12 months, you'll be 24 to 48 pounds lighter. Because some months you'll lose more, some less, some none at all. But again, we want it instantaneously. We want it off overnight. And
Right.
so
And that's
that's
not
what I
how it
tell people.
happens.
Yeah. And so we talked about golden rule number one, which is drink more water. Golden rule number two is to avoid the highly processed, ultra processed, and manufactured foods. Golden rule number three, and when I talk about manufactured foods, that's what I'm talking about, a person in a white lab coat coming up with chemicals and putting together to make it taste like food.
Mhm.
Golden rule number three is the real holistic whole foods. So eat an apple, eat a banana, eat your vegetables, eat the real stuff. I don't eat chicken anymore. And the
Right.
reason I
Right.
don't eat chicken is because if you look at a picture of the size of a chicken in the 1940s and you look at the size of a chicken today, the chicken today is about 4 times larger than the
Well,
chicken in
because of the
the
feed
40s.
foods they get them and the environment, they're not out scratching and they're not, working for
Well,
their food.
that and it's what they're putting into their feed. And
Right.
if you look at the labels on the packaging of chicken in the fine print, usually on the front, it'll say 20 to 25% water added. So they sell the chicken by the weight. So they're adding 20 to 25% water to make it heavier. So you're paying for water. Um, my mom bought some chicken breasts. She thought there were 4 in the package. There were 2.
Mm.
She threw them out. It's not natural. They look like a
Right.
turkey breast rather than a
Yeah, they
chicken breast.
break things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So golden rule number 4 is to eat slower because we're all in a hurry. We tend to eat fast. Mark David wrote a book called The Slow Down Diet. And in there, he says if you take 5 minutes for breakfast, give yourself 10. And at a minimum, give yourself 30 minutes for lunch and 30 minutes for dinner. Because how often are we sitting at our desk or watching TV or driving? If you go through a drive through, and all of a sudden the food that you're eating is gone, it's like, where did it go?
Right. You
You
just,
ate it without realizing it.
right. Right.
Golden rule number 5 is to eat smaller portions. People don't realize our portion sizes have been supersized. In the 1900s, the average size dinner plate was 9 inches in diameter. Today, it's 12 inches. That's a 25% increase. And at restaurants, it can be 13 to 15 inches.
Oh,
Yet in Europe, except for the UK, the average size dinner plate is still 9 inches in diameter. So what I always tell people is use a salad plate instead of a regular size plate. Because if you put the same amount of food on a salad plate as you do a dinner size plate, the food on a dinner size plate will look like there's a lot less,
right.
and the
Right.
food on a salad plate will look like there's a lot more. It's called the Del Boeuf illusion. And so golden rule number 6 is to get
Sleep.
adequate sleep.
Right.
Uh, when I say that, I talk about 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep. And they found that a person without getting quality sleep will consume an extra 500 calories the next day. Now, the average nutritional fact panel is based on 2,000 calories per day. However, the average person will consume 3,600 calories per day.
Wow.
So, in other words, people are consuming almost twice as much calories than they need, and not all calories are created equal. An apple has about 90 to 100 calories. However, it takes 25 calories to digest it. So it's a net of 75 calories. A Hershey bar has 125 calories, takes 0 calories for your body to process it, has no nutritional value. So a lot of
Right.
people will
Right.
grab a can of Diet Coke or soda or Coke and a Hershey bar or Snickers bar or whatever, M&Ms to get their energy level up, not realizing they're going to get the sugar crash a couple hours later, and there's no nutritional value there.
Right. It goes the same way with a lot of those energy drinks. And my goodness, there's so much caffeine and so much of that. And they get an immediate high, but then they crash right away afterwards.
Yeah, and I've talked to a couple of people who've had issues with their heart because it races the heart.
Hmm.
Uh, so you got
Yeah.
to be careful. Again, you don't need the energy drink if you get the adequate sleep.
Right.
Golden rule number 7 is to rest to digest, and that's an intermittent fast. And when I say that, people roll their eyes thinking starvation. And most people can do it without realizing it. So the way it works is if you stop eating 3 hours before you go to sleep, and you get 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep, and your first meal is 2 to 3 hours after you get up, then that's 12 hours or more.
Right. Or
That's
more.
an intermittent fast. And yet people get confused because some people advocate intermittent fast needs to be 14 hours. Some will say 16 hours. Some will say 18 hours. In my opinion, 12 hours or more is adequate. And what I do when I first get up is I have a 20-ounce glass of water. So I rehydrate and it acts as an appetite suppressant. So I'm not hungry after that.
Correct.
And then
Yeah.
I drink more water, throughout the morning. Then I have my, first meal, which is to break the fast, around 11 o'clock. And again, that works for me. Other people may not work for it. If they're going to work, they may need something to eat beforehand. So
Right.
there's different things for different people. And then golden rule number 8 is to think positive. 80% of our thoughts are negative. Imagine if we changed it to be 80% positive. And then golden rule number 9 is to walk each day or do some type of physical activity. I recommend walking when you first start out. And the reason I say that is walking is the most underrated physical activity you can do. And Rebel Wilson lost 77 pounds in a year simply walking an hour each day. Now, I understand a lot of people don't have an hour each day to devote to walking. Mindy Kaling lost weight. And what she would do is when she had a 10 or 15-minute break, she'd go on a 10 or 15-minute walk. So instead of um, texting or doing social media, she'd go for a walk. Well, if you do that 4 or 5 times throughout the day, that's 45 minutes to an hour.
Right.
So it's little things. And again, I'll ask people, are there any of these things you're unable to do? Oh, I could do all of them. Okay. Are there any you're unwilling to do? Yes, I'm unwilling to give up my soda or diet soda, or
Right.
give up certain things. I'm not able to help you if you're not willing to make changes to be
Well,
healthier.
even in our hot climate in the summertime, I just can't do the heat. So a walking, even an inside treadmill is going to be better than not doing anything at all.
Well, yeah, my mom, she goes to the shopping center,
Right.
indoor,
Right.
the indoor mall, walks around there. There's a lot of things you can do. You can get up and walk around your house.
And chair yoga and any number of things that can be done, you know.
Exactly. So as Jason Starbuck taught me as a coach, it's not what we will do, or no, it's not what we can do, it's what we will do. Because we all can do a lot, it's what we will do.
Right.
And that's the difference. So that's the book is, those 9 simple golden rules. I tell you what they are. More importantly, I tell you how to implement them. So it's not just what to do, it's also how to do. And then there's a lot of stories woven in to keep
Well,
you
this
entertained and motivated, encouraged, supported. And again, a lot of the stories will resonate with some, not with others.
well, storytelling still, I think the whole key to a good book is the storytelling because that's what makes it relatable and helps people to see real life examples of really makes it relatable, makes it all altogether different type of book than just giving facts and figures. And that's something we can't do because people don't respond to that. They
Yeah,
want they like the story. They
yeah,
get immersed in the story. They see the example, you know.
exactly. Another one of my favorite stories is The Last House. It's near the end of the book. And a builder, um, guy who does, carpentry, tells his boss he's going to retire and he's done. And his boss says, I want you to build one more house. And the man's just not into building one more house. And he says, okay, reluctantly. So he does shoddy work. He cuts corners. He doesn't use quality materials. He just wants to get it done. And when the house is done, he goes to the boss and says, the house is done. Here are the keys. And the boss turns around and says, no, the keys are for you. This is your house. It's my gift to you.
Mm, mm.
And what that lesson is as the carpenter found out, if he knew it was for himself, he would have done high quality work like he always did for other people. And a lot of times we take better care of our pets, our automobiles, other people than we do our own bodies. And
Correct.
so that's
Yeah,
the lesson. And I think that's a powerful lesson. As I don't know if it was Bob Martin or Jim Rohn, because I've heard both of them say it. Um, if you wear out your body, where else are you going to live?
very true. Well, your books are absolutely amazing. You've been very consistent over the years since I've known you as far as this journey. So what is, oops, maybe do that. What is the next step for you? What are your goals as far as getting this message out to the world?
Well, obviously, the book is one way to do it. What I'm also doing is getting to corporate health and wellness. Unfortunately, employers have good intention and they will offer their employees a health and wellness program, which most of the time is a gym membership, which most people won't go to or won't use. Or they'll offer a nutritionist where they get certain meals that they have to eat. I had one person says, I don't want to eat that. I don't like it. I said, well, why are you doing it then? If you don't like broccoli, don't eat it. If you don't like kale, don't eat it. You know, find out what you like that you enjoy that's healthy for you and focus on that because what we focus on expands. So
That's right.
a lot of the programs just don't work that are available to employees, and a lot of the employers are frustrated because employees just don't participate. So I partnered with a company called Nuvita, and they have the technology, I have the coaching, where it's all inclusive and it's based on participation, not on goals. Because someone starting at 250, 280 pounds has a bigger advantage of losing a lot of weight compared to someone starting at 200 pounds or 175 pounds. So
Right.
it's not about the setting goals. That's important, don't get me wrong. It's participating in doing the actual program. And we go through the 9 simple golden rules to help you figure out what you like and enjoy that you should focus on and avoid the things that are unhealthy for you. A lot of people think because of the marketing gimmicks used out there that what they're eating is healthy, when in truth, they're not. Um,
Correct.
you got to read the ingredients. I had one client, he says, hey, I found this great tasting water. So what are the ingredients? He goes, what are you talking about? It's just water. It's 0 calories. Turns out there was an artificial sweetener in there.
Right.
So it's 0 calories, but that artificial sweetener is not healthy for you. So again, you got to read the labels and see what's in there. McDonald's French fries, the ingredients back before 1980 was potatoes, oil, salt. Today, if you look at the ingredients of their French fries, because they're
Oh my
frozen,
goodness. Yes.
it's a list of about 12, 13 ingredients. In the UK, China, and Canada, a lot of the ingredients in our cereals and food are not allowed there. So again, if you look at the ingredients in products, the exact same products sold in Canada, UK, China, compared to what is in the products here, their ingredients are a lot shorter and a lot healthier than
Much healthier
our
for them.
ingredients.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, box of spaghetti on the front will say 0 grams of fat, 0 sodium, this much protein. Hey, that sounds great. I should get it because it's healthy, right? Wrong. What they don't tell you is it's 41 grams of carbohydrates in one serving.
Right.
Diet soda causes weight gain. People are like, how does a 0 calorie drink cause weight gain? Well, it has aspartame as the artificial sweetener, and they changed the name from aspartame to NutraSweet. Not NutraSweet, Amino Sweet, because
Hmm.
people are getting aware the aspartame's bad. So now it's called Amino Sweet.
So that
And
sounds healthier, right?
right, sounds healthy. 92 known side effects. One of them is it increases your cravings for sugar and sweetness. So you may have the diet soda, but then you're going to have the candy bar, the ice cream, the cookies, because you're
Right.
craving it. The other thing is it inhibits your body from absorbing vitamins, minerals, and nutrients. So now your body doesn't get the right fuel. It's in starvation mode, and so it wants more food. And it's fighting like heck to keep the weight on. And
Right.
so just drink regular water and avoid orange juice. Takes four
Yeah.
to eight medium oranges to make 1 glass of orange juice. And then they throw in other chemicals for stabilizing for shelf life. I usually ask people, will you eat 4 to 8 oranges at one sitting? No. But
No.
that's how
It's the
much
same
sugar
with
you
the
put in your
apples
body in
too.
1 glass. Yeah.
Right.
So again, you got to read the ingredients on the packaging. That's the most important thing. And people don't do it. Either they're not able to read it because the print's so fine, or they don't
We
take
need
the
our
time.
bifocals.
Well,
Yeah.
I have another client. She sent me a picture of kosher dill pickles, and she goes, "Are these good?" I said, "What are the ingredients?" So she sent me the ingredients, and I'm reading it, and it says distilled white vinegar. I wrote back, "No, it's got distilled white vinegar." And she says, "What's wrong with distilled white vinegar?" I said, "Well, if you Google, it's used for cleaning and pesticides. Do you really want to put that in your body?"
Right.
So
Right. Yeah, you have to be so careful, and there's so many things that maybe at one time were really good for us, but because of what they've done to them, they modified them so much that they're no longer good. So it takes a lot of diligence to pay close attention to what we're
yeah,
consuming
and
and why we're consuming it, you know.
exactly. And I'm not a food purist by any stretch of the imagination. My wife and I'll go out for dinner. I'll have, some ice cream for dessert once in a while, a piece of cake, piece of pie, maybe
It's the steady diet of it.
yeah. So we're talking maybe once a month, once every 2 or 3 months. It's not every day. And again, I'm watching what I'm putting in my body as far as, main food, to make sure it gets the right fuel. Our bodies are an incredible machine. And like I said, there are people take better care of their automobiles than they do themselves. They take their automobiles for the oil change, the tire rotation, the tune-up, the checkup. If you ask them when was the last time you went to the doctor, oh, I don't know.
Right. Yeah, for
So
sure. So David, we have a couple of guests. I know they're off camera. If any of them want to comment, turn the camera on, you're welcome to. If you have any questions or any observations, if you've worked with David and would like to say, you know, give your input, it would be awesome. And so we're opening that up for right now. Sherry, I see you. Come on. You're muted. I can unmute you. Let me look. Let me get over here to. Uh,
Unmute.
there you
Am I
are.
there now?
Yes, you
Oh, good.
are.
Guys, I'm actually driving, but I have to laugh because I am, I think, the one that even sent him that on the kosher pickles. I absolutely love the way that this is working for me and how conscious that I have become, just in my food choices. And even here recently, going on vacation and choosing to have some of the other things, I don't feel guilt about it because I know very quickly I'm going to go right back to it. But at the same time, I'm that it's not good for me. And that part of it has been just awesome. I absolutely love it. And Dave has been so approachable and always there anytime I've got any kind of questions for him at all. And that's all I do, send him pictures of the ingredients. So that, there was something too about the that maybe I think was important too. There was something turned to something else inside the body, and I can't remember exactly what that was, but everything that I'm learning from him has just been awesome. I love it.
thank you, Sherry.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. Awesome. Well, David,
You
we
got
want
it.
to we want to celebrate you and what you're doing in our world. I'm gonna hold this up right from my nose. And for those that see this video, either they're watching it live or you come across it later, it's going off on all kinds of media platforms. Be sure and pick up a copy of this incredible book and take the time to reach out to David, because that's what his mission in life is, to help people really grab a hold of their health and take care of their bodies and live a life that we're meant to live. And it is by those everyday health choices that we make. So there's those 9 simple golden rules. You'll read about it in his book. Use that as a guidepost, and also take advantage of what David has to offer. So
And my contact information is in the book. I'm not hiding
it
it
is.
from you. So my phone number, which is my cell phone, which I answer, and also my email's in there. So if you have questions, you can reach out to me. And also, I just want to point out one other thing. On the front cover, you'll see the single serpent wrapped around the staff. And there's meaning in that, because that is different than the 2 serpents wrapped around the staff with the wings on top, which is often used for medical symbols. And when you read what's in the book, you'll find out why that is wrong, and that the correct symbol is the staff with the single serpent. I don't want to give it away. I
Interesting.
want them to read it in the book.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you for this wonderful interview today, David, and the light that you shed for our world. And we're truly pleased. And if you haven't picked up a copy of this book, please do. And share it with those. Take the time to share it. Another thing is, if you're anywhere that you're purchasing the book, you can leave a review. And the reviews are really kind of the lifeblood of a good book, because people often will look at a book and say, well, what are other people saying about it? And with Amazon and the other companies, the online bookstores and whatever, you're able to actually see what people are saying. So a good review is going to make all the difference for David getting his message out to the world.
Well, I'd rephrase a little bit, say I'd like an honest review.
That's right.
Yeah, if there's something I don't like about the book, I'm okay with the criticism. If you love the book, great, share that with others. Again, an honest review is appreciated on Amazon and other places, Google.
Thank you. That's very good. And I noticed that Alicia says that she's here. Her camera's not working, but she says that you've helped her to stop drinking soda and make smarter choices. And Dwight has said, thank you for those 9 simple golden rules.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you for a beautiful interview and what you're doing in the world. And we celebrate you as a launch of another incredible book.
Thanks so much, Becky. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. So